Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in as always. In today's video we're going to take a look at the Liong Mah GSD. I have both models here in front of me. They are both on loan from Liong, so definitely appreciate that. But this model just came out. I think people are just starting to receive them probably today as I'm filming this. And it came out in short order after his Endeavor model, so certainly wasn't expecting another release so quickly. Now looking back, my first experience with Liong Mah was actually with a collaboration he did with CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool, called the GSD. It was the same model. He did give it to them initially, and they did, of course, a budget-friendly version, as that is their niche. That's the market that they cater to at CRKT. So in my review of that knife, or in my video, whatever you want to call it, I love the design. Obviously a budget knife like that did have some shortcomings for me, in comparison with the knives that I typically buy or collect. And so what Liong has done is he's taken the same design and he has executed it with Riot in a no compromise build. And so that's kind of the beauty of his own brand versus his collaborations, as he can go and he can do no compromise builds and really have the knives built to his vision with incredible quality. So we're going to take a look at both of these. Ships with his normal pouch, as I've shown you guys in many videos. So let's break these open. Two models, or two versions here, same exact knife, but up here we have the bling, and I'll show you guys it really quick. They both use the same blade steel, but this one is done with an orange peel or eggshell. Basically it's a wire wheel type of texture, and carbon fiber. They are bolster locks. We'll talk about that in a minute. Ceramic bearings, S35VN, titanium, all the good stuff. And then the tuxedo version utilizes a PVD coating with a white micarta, so you get this tuxedo look, which is really unique. Pretty ballsy to go with a kind of a build with these materials, but I really like it. It's quite unique in comparison to essentially the rest of my knives in my collection that are along the lines of titanium and carbon fiber. So two different offerings, very different aesthetics, same exact knife. Let's go through the specs here, and we've got the Para 2, of course. We'll just put that in the middle. And there we go. So the blade length on the GSD is 3.5 inches, handle is 4.5. These do come in at 0.55 inches thick, although they are contoured, of course. And the weight is essentially the same. There's a negligible difference, but the bling version here is 4.1 ounces and the tuxedo is 4.2 ounces on my scale. So that is there's the Para 2, and then just for giggles, grab the Endeavor, which was his last model, so you guys can see here kind of a size difference between the models in his lineup. So let's see if we can get those straight. There we are. Alright, let's do overall impressions. So we actually had Liong Mah on our podcast. That's the Modern Neanderthal podcast, this last week, the week before. The most recent episode, I'll put a link in the description box below to it. But one thing that he talked about is a point that I've echoed multiple times, that we are in the golden era of knife collecting, knife making, knife buying. Production companies are getting better. They're getting more competitive. We're getting more for less money. In many regards. In some regards we're not, in some regards we are. But he talked about companies needing to become more competitive, and so I think this knife serves as a pretty good example. Not an inexpensive build by any means. He's incorporated a bolster lock, which is essentially a frame lock with an overlay. So it's kind of a happy median between a liner lock, where you get symmetric sides here, show side and lock side look. Almost identical with a few minor screws in the pocket clip, of course, but you still get the strength of a frame lock. Now, is it better than a liner lock or a standard frame lock? No. I think the strength is going to be the same, but the machining obviously is more intensive. I think it's a more attractive look, and you do not see them very often in production knives. Typically, custom knives and many custom knife makers don't really seem to like making bolster locks because my assumption is they're more difficult or more time consuming. Anyhow, so this is a really great example of companies or designers becoming more competitive and trying to take each build to the next step. So fit and finish is excellent. One thing right off the bat that many of you guys have commented on is this filler tab that he has incorporated here in the show side, and that is so the clip can be swapped from left to right hand carry. As a right hand user, I would have happily left that out, but any left hand users that are watching are probably saying, screw you buddy, we want that there. So, minor qualm to, what is an amazing build. The other thing, kind of an unknown while we're taking a look at the overall impressions, they did a PVD coating on this version, and I don't have any experience yet with their coating as far as how well does it hold up. Does it easily scratch? Does it wear off? That's just an unknown for me at the moment. They've done, maybe Riyadh's done, at least the Future, they had some full black coated ones, but again, I'm not sure how that finish is going to hold up. We'll have to see. So far, no scratches, and it had 2 days of carry, so that's a good sign because I've had other pocket clips that scratch pretty much the second you put it on, with the black finishes they use. Spyderco is a great example. Anyhow, so those are my overall impressions. A couple unknowns, minor design qualms, but the fit and finish is excellent. Love the design. Again, I picked up a CRKT simply because the design was so good, and I'm not a CRKT type of buyer. So anyways, let's take a look at a little more detail here. We'll start with the bling version. Now, let's talk about the flipping action. So we have a fairly low profile flipper tab. As you can see, it has plenty of jimping all the way around, which makes it easier to grab from multiple locations. And the way he's cut the frame exposes a fair bit more, so again, it's pretty low profile, very unobtrusive, wouldn't bother you in the pocket at all. Flips really well. So the low profile flipper tab works excellent. Ceramic bearing, ceramic detent, just as always. And the blade is fully encased in the handle when it's closed. Does use an integrated stop pin right in the blade there. So you can see how that works pretty easily. Now the other opening method, so we have a pretty thin cutout here. There's not a lot of space, but you can easily get your middle finger in there, kick it open, and you can get your thumb in there fairly easily. Let's try that again. So not as easy as the middle finger flick, but certainly doable, and the detents are not set up super aggressive on these, so fairly practical. I can roll it out without really any difficulty. So show you on this one. So no problem. Multiple opening methods, and he did that on the Endeavor as well, essentially based on customer feedback. And actually this one's a little bit easier to open than the Endeavor because they didn't do a full cutout in the groove here, but the Endeavor certainly works. Really no problems. Well, alright. I'm having a little difficulty with the thumb right now, but generally it works when I'm not underneath the camera. Now, one other thing that he did with this one is he left a 90-degree angle here on the edge of the cutout. So it's not sharp, but it does catch your finger or your nail really well, which you need in the smaller hole. Now, if you sat here and flicked this thing open or thumb rolled it 100 times, that would become uncomfortable. But if you're just opening it as normal, not a problem. Or if you're using your middle finger, obviously it's grabbing onto the nail, and that's not going to bother your nail in the slightest. So, or again, the flipper tab is quite comfortable. But did want to point that out. It is at a 90-degree angle for a specific purpose to give you, purchase and bite when opening. But if you're going to sit there and play with that a whole ton, it might become uncomfortable over time. So one consideration. Now, jimping is his, kind of diagonal, as we've seen on many models. Very functional, nice long run, which is very useful on this knife. So very well done. Flat grind, S35VN, his logo, the blade steel. There's not a sharpening notch or a finger choil, but there is an unsharpened portion here. As you can see, it lines up with where the edge of the frame stops, and so if you're using a fixed angle system with the rods or the stones, should be fine hitting the very end of the edge. So, alright, that is the flipping action, method, opening methods, and so forth. Centering, perfect on this one. This one might be a smidge to the lock side, maybe 1 millimeter. Be perfect there. Yeah, just about perfect on this one. Now the lockup. The stainless steel lock insert is pretty well hidden on this one, but the lockup is actually quite early, probably 20% on this one. This one is a little bit later, probably 30 or 40%, so yeah. So this one is locking up a little bit earlier. Can't push it over. Can't push that one over. Both rock solid. So, yeah. Slightly different lockup, but both work very, very well. Some of you guys prefer earlier, some prefer later. As long as it's not past 60 or, 10 or less, I really don't care. That's me personally. Ergonomics. Here it is in my extra large hands. Pretty much, my hand covers the entire thing, and the jimping up top really lets me get a forward position on it. So it's very comfortable. Again, it's a really well executed design. Very attractive design as well. So again, that's why I bought the CRKT, even though I don't buy CRKTs. So no hot spots on my hand. Again, hand sizes do affect the ergonomics or the comfort in your hand considerably. So in my extra large hands, it's very comfortable. There's no sharp edges anywhere around the lock bar cutout. There's no sharp edges anywhere on the pocket clip or the back spacer. They really took their time on this one to make sure that nothing is sharp at all. So, alright. And I had some questions around the grippiness of the carbon fiber versus the micarta here. And to be honest, they're both kind of a polished finish. So not slick, but there's really no grip to them either. Yeah, and they're pretty much identical. So, one's not grippier than the other, so hopefully that answers that question for you guys. And let's see what else. Lanyard hole at the back. Let's do an up close on the PVD here with the, let's take a look at the seams. A little bit jimping on the back spacer that works. Partially enclosed back spacer. And an up close look at the bling. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Really nice design. Trying to figure out which one I'm going to buy. I'm not sure. Tell me what you guys think I should do. Now here's kind of the funny thing. I typically tend to gravitate towards, the carbon fiber and titanium, but honestly the majority of my collection kind of follows this format. So my initial impression is, hey, this is my speed right here. This is the one I'd probably get. But then I look at this one and it's so unique from any of the finishes or material combinations in my collection that I'm like, all right, maybe I should branch out a little bit, try something a little bit different. I don't know. It's always good to have a lot of choices, but sometimes it makes it really hard to choose between the two. So let me know which one you guys like better, and that should pretty much wrap up this video. Hopefully I give you guys a pretty good idea of what to expect in regard with the GSD. Great job, Liong. Great job, Riyadh. Really glad to see this design executed to this level, which is what I was really hoping for. So anyways, thanks for watching. Take care.